Rethink Your Legacy. I'm Francisco Servent, your attorney and problem solver at law. This is a conversation designed to help you live out your family's values, live out what's most important to you before you leave this world. With the numbers of COVID still bearing down on us and the world everything seems to be out of our control. Everything seems to be unsure. What's happening? What's next? When is the government going to give us the all clear? It just reminds me of how important it is that we be prepared for stuff, even in the face of complete uncertainty. I was just raised by my mom and dad, and many of you were, by people who had solid core family values that were critical. One of ours was our faith. We also had values that were how we treat other people. And they're just in our core, they're in our gut. And if you were raised like that, you know what I mean. It feels like during these really uncertain times that sometimes I admit I just want to kind of throw up my hands and say, there's nothing we can do. Like I just want to run around like with my head cut off like a chicken. But, we can't. If we are people who have those core family values, we are the ones who need to lead through this with a level head. And so we can't just run around like crazy people. If you've been watching the news, everyone's been probably watching the news. Even myself, I don't normally watch the news. I'm watching the news. You're seeing how some of these, there's some government benefits and programs that have been put in place to help people get through the pandemic. A lot of them are coming to an end right now, and it's affecting a lot of people. There has been, a whole bunch of new programs put in place. I was trying to find a list of them, and there's not really a good list of them, but here's a few, right? There's the unemployment benefit, the extra boost from the federal government. I think that's the $600 a week. There is the Paycheck Protection Program that small businesses could get. There's the whole rental industry is prohibited from evicting anybody right now. And so there's a lot of rent protection. And then there's actually some rent assistance on top of that. I think there's also some programs that prohibit banks from instituting foreclosures right now. I've even seen some banks just internally, not government benefits. I've seen some banks just proactively say, hey, we're putting your payments on forbearance. And so there's a lot of programs out there that are available to help right now. Two of the programs, or I guess three of the programs that we deal with a lot and that I've counseled thousands of families on are the probate. Now may not sound like a benefit, but it's a program we know exists. And then the Medicaid program for health insurance and for nursing home benefits. And then the VA benefits, which is just a giant black hole sometimes, but VA benefits, and specifically with respect to disabilities, disabled vets, and long-term care expenses for vets who are elderly and in need of long-term care. I guess I'm more the kind of person who really wants to stand on my own 2 feet, wants to be independent, doesn't want to be dependent on my parents, on anybody else, on the government. And, so there's this internal struggle sometimes when I learn about and talk about benefits through government programs, because I'm like, no, we should be independent. We shouldn't rely on that. We shouldn't go get a government handout. But then I work with families who sometimes don't realize there are all these benefits out there that can really change their situation in a huge way and are literally burning through their life savings, just depleting everything they have, and they're just not pushing that button. They're saying no, or they don't know about it. And I at least think we ought to know about these programs because, if we need it, we need it. And in some ways, I don't know, I think in some ways we don't volunteer to pay extra in taxes. At least I don't know anybody who does, or who does that knowingly. I know for myself, we try to figure out how we can pay less in taxes. We take all the deductions that we can. So if we're taking all the deductions on the tax side that we can, why wouldn't we try to maximize the use of programs that are available? So I don't know. So we do. I've counseled thousands of families on how to maximize a few of these benefit programs. And that's what I want to share with you guys today. You are probably, thinking, I'm never going to I don't want to rely on government programs. I don't want to do that. And totally understand it. I'm right there with you. But if you're in the midst of, placing a parent in long-term care, or they're a veteran or a veteran spouse and they need assisted living, there are benefits for you that can really, really help. And if you want help, give us a call, 480-750-7788, or jump on our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com, and see what benefits you might qualify for, or they might qualify for. I know my grandpa, he passed away years and years ago, Grandpa Baker. And if you've been following our prior episodes, you may remember that he actually wrote a book for us, for the family, called A Gathering of Tales. I don't know how many stories, but it's almost 200 pages of his stories of his life. And I think about him, and I think about a lot of people that came before me in my family, but he's the one who put the stories down. So he's the one that I get to share with you guys. And I think some of his stories really give us some insight into how hard life was. That is what created those values, those core values that made them hard workers, solid people. And I just wanted to share a quick one with you guys, because it just opens, I think, our eyes into what created them, and really sometimes maybe how easy we have it right now. So this is from the early 1900s, and this is part of the foreword to his book. I don't know why I'm thinking of writing a book, other than an obsession that ought to leave at least a small something behind to mark my passage through this vale of tears. Not having attained wealth or position or influence leaves me with really nothing much to leave behind, except to record some general observations about life and some experiences which might be of interest to others. My life, a rather frustrating one at best, can perhaps be best summed up and illustrated by an event which happened when I was about 5 years old and growing up on a farm in northern Nebraska. I was trying to make some kind of useful toy out of a worn-out pinion gear from an old McCormick Deering horse mower. This gear weighed, I'd guess, about 1 to 1.5 pounds. Because I couldn't think of anything else to do with it, I kept throwing it up on top of the barn roof, which had a standard rather steep slope, so it kept rolling back down and falling with a thud to the ground, which is about 10 to 12 feet below. Finally, the gear stayed up and didn't roll back down. After a short, indeterminate time of waiting, my child's attention span wandered off to something else and I left. I don't recall how much later it was before I returned to the area, but it was at least many minutes, maybe half an hour or more. I was walking along under the edge of the roof, and the cussed gear managed to come loose from whatever had held it, and with absolute precision, at exactly the right instant to hit me on the top of the head, knocking me out for a moment or two and making a big bleeding gash on the top of my head. It also left me with a pretty good idea of the kind of troubled and exasperating life I was in for, as the odds against that gear being able to come loose at exactly the same instant that I would be back under the exact place where it would fall have got to be beyond calculating, almost infinite. Look, if you are trying to take care of a family member who is elderly and has expensive long-term care, assisted living, nursing home bills, give us a call. Our first appointment is very low key. It's very low pressure. It's just to help to see if we can figure out if there's anything that can be done. Give us a call, 480-750-7788, or you can jump on radio.keystonelawfirm.com and schedule it right there. If you're on Facebook, shoot us a message, drop us a comment. We'd love to hear what your questions are and get them answered. After the break, I'm going to pick up and share with you a case study of a family who actually went through this and saved their family from complete financial disaster. Welcome back to Rethink Your Legacy. I'm Francisco Servent, and today we're talking about how government benefits right now are all over the map, and I want to dial in on two specific programs today for you, for those of you who are really taking care of a parent who is facing a long-term care stay, or is moving into assisted living or nursing home, or is already in there. Or I guess even if it's yourself and you're just planning ahead, if you're beyond the age that it makes sense to buy insurance for that, then you might be wondering about yourself. So that's what we're going to dig in on. I've talked to thousands of families and taught classes and helped. And one of the families that just completely sticks out in my mind is a gal who was taking care of her mom, who had dementia and was in a memory care home. And the cost there, it can really vary all over the board. But here in Maricopa County, the average cost of a nursing home, the last time I looked at the Genworth statistics, it was over $8,000 a month. And she had, I don't know, by some miracle, found a place that was charging about $4,000 a month. It was a private small group home. She was able to find good care for her mom. So she called us to say, hey, this is getting expensive. This is really depleting her, my parents' small nest egg. And is there anything that can be done? And so we sat and we started to figure it out, because there is something that can be done. And thankfully, her dad had served in the military, so they had the option of both the Veterans Program and the Medicaid program to look at how to cover those nursing home costs. But they didn't qualify on paper as they kind of just sat when they first came in. And I'm gonna share with you guys how to go from not qualified to qualified on paper with your money and your finances. But in her situation, she was just barely trying to start this out, barely dipping her toe into it. And before anything was really done, her dad had a critical medical issue, landed him in the hospital, and he was going to be discharged for rehab, which, if you know how this process works for those of you who are retired and on Medicare, he would be discharged to rehab. Medicare will pay for the first 100 days after that hospital stay. They'll pay for 100 days of rehab. And rehab in his case was going to be 24/7. He was going to be staying in a facility. After that 100 days, though, it was going to be thousands of dollars a month extra for dad too. And they told her he's not going to be done at 100 days. He's going to be in here for the long term. His medical issues were very serious. So here she is, just starting to figure out how can we cover mom's bill. And now she's being told, hey, in 3.5 months, you're going to have another bill on top of that, dad. Holy cow. That's overwhelming. And a lot of you have worked your butt off your whole life to scrimp and live frugally, and you lived within your means to put together a little nest egg, just enough to take care of you during your elderly years during your retirement, and then during those last years of life that get to be the most expensive years of our life, you worked yourself to the bone. You didn't go on all the vacations. You didn't buy all the new cars. You didn't upgrade the house. You didn't, you literally lived frugally within your means. You worked extra shifts. You got extra jobs. I watched my parents. I watched so many other families do this and still doing this. And this particular gal, she was literally staring at the reality of her parents' nest egg just was going to get wiped out in a matter of a year or two. I mean, completely wiped out. And then what? Right? I mean, she didn't care about inheriting anything. She was fine. Oh my gosh. So that's, that's the problem with not knowing what to do at this time, is it will wipe you out. I mean, with the average cost over $8,000 a month, that's 90 some $1,000s a year in cash. Cash every month this bill has to be paid. You don't want to pay for this thing out of pocket. I mean, if you have saved up enough of a nest egg where this isn't going to impact your financial security, then that's where you really want to be. I mean, if you have the time to do that, that's where you want to be. Not everyone has done that. So you may not want to pay for this out of pocket. You probably don't want your kids to have to pay for you out of pocket if you're the one who's staring at this risk. We've seen that where kids do have to pick up that bill. And if you're the child and you're staring at your parents, you don't want to watch them go broke. That's not something you want to watch. If you're in this mess right now, give us a call. We help people. We help families figure this out financially so that you get a secure plan that's going to take this all the way and carry you all the way in. So you've got true financial independence and security around this stuff. 480-750-7788, or you can schedule right online at radio.keystonelawfirm.com. These two programs, now I said at the beginning, and I absolutely believe this, I'm not a big fan of just jumping on the government, quote unquote dole and becoming a person with their hand out. I'm just not that kind of person. I believe we should work hard. We should take care of ourselves. We should be independent. We should be financially, responsible. And 100%, I'm with you on that. The two programs that I'm going to talk about, they were built specifically, however, with the intent of taking care of this time period and these expenses. They were built with really clear guidelines about who can get them and who can't. And so there's a few myths that are just out there and that I want to share. And I hope to, I just hope that I can get, I can open your perspective to something different about just these two specific ones. So the VA program and there's a Medicaid program. Now, both of those are giant, huge government, bureaucracies. They're humongous. But if you take just one piece of it that I'm going to talk about right now, then I hope you can see this as a benefit that was intended to take care of, a large segment of our population. The VA program first. If you're not a veteran, you might know someone who is. So please share this information. It's called the Improved Pension. And what it does is it intends to take care of veterans whose income is too low compared to their medical expenses, their monthly medical expenses. And what counts towards that is your long-term care, your assisted living. Just that one little specific part of the VA benefit. All veterans who served during certain wartime periods, even if they served here in the U.S., can qualify. Okay, there's criteria and all this kind of stuff, but you earned that benefit. You did not have to retire from the military to get that benefit, the improved pension. On the Medicaid side, it's one specific little, narrow piece of it, one little sliver of it. It's Arizona's long-term care system. literally the long-term care system. Okay. And again, specific requirements. You're an Arizona resident. You meet these criteria. The program is there to take care of you. And that's what we're going to talk about, is how to get qualified. Because if you think, oh, yeah, I can't do anything about it, I'll just use my home equity, I'll just bleed down my house and then end up completely broke with nothing for my kids. Or, I'll never move into a nursing home. Never, 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 never. I will never move into a nursing home. And I'm definitely not moving into one of those government homes. There's actually almost no government homes. They're almost all private homes that just accept those insurance programs, that accept those benefits. So that's what I want you to stick around with and come back to the break to learn how to get qualified, or how to get your parents qualified. If you are already just, Francisco, set me up, I need to meet with your team, and I got to figure this out for my family because we're in the middle of this, or I'm in the middle of this, give us a call, 480-750-7788. Schedule right online at radio.keystonelawfirm.com. That first appointment is really a no pressure, just a comfortable space for you to be able to get your questions answered. It's called a discovery hour, for you to discover us, for us to discover you, and show you your options. There's really no pressure. We're doing almost all of those virtually right now, so you can do it from the comfort of your home. You don't even have to try to pack up and get over to the office. So you're welcome to give us a call to see if that can help, or get our checklist from this week's show. Jump on our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com, and we'll send you a specific checklist of things to keep in mind and to consider with regard to this topic, so that you can talk about it and remember it. And we'll be happy to send you that checklist. Come back after the break. Welcome back to Rethink Your Legacy. This is Francisco Servent, your attorney and problem solver at law. Today, we're talking about the Medicaid and VA benefits that can help you or your parents pay for long-term care, nursing home expenses. These are humongous opportunities that families who are going through that should at least learn about and look into. We've got a checklist for you this week. If you'd like to download that, just go to radio.keystonelawfirm.com, and it'll include all these tips and discussion points so that you can have something to remember and review with your family. The story that I shared from the gal who was taking care of her mom, and then it started to happen to her dad. And so what ended up happening was they were staring at a total monthly cost of over $10,000 a month was going to be drained from their life savings. By going through we hustled for them, because that's a lot every single month, by rearranging their money, how they have it in savings and checking and investments and the house equity, by rearranging things almost like magic, right? We were able to take their nest egg, which was about $300,000, and which did disqualify them from those programs. We were able to rearrange it in a way that we have to disclose all this stuff to every government bureaucracy, rearrange it, show Medicaid what we did, and then poof, they were qualified for Medicaid. And this ended up saving this family over $200,000 in expenses. And so that's what I want to share with you right now, is how to do that. Now, this is not something you're going to learn completely how to do in the matter of, the time we have on this show. So if you need help doing that, give us a call. We'd love to help you figure it out. This is something that has taken me 15 years to get to where I can instantly go, poof, here's the answer. There are two big lessons that you need to know about in how these programs work. So the first big one is that these programs, actually what they do is they pay for a private home. They pay for a private group home, a private facility, a private, whatever. And even within some of this, they will pay for people to come to your home, private caregivers. And you already know some of these companies if you're in this kind of phase of life. That's the first thing. These are they operate like insurance, where you get the benefit and then you go out and find a provider who will accept the benefit. And it's a private company. The second thing is that you are allowed to shuffle your money around to make it exempt. Okay, that's the magic word that we use. We use all the tools that we have at our disposal to take your bucket of money and your income and to move it from this countable side where it's counting against you and it's disqualifying you, and move it over to this exempt category. Okay, so there's movement, there's transfers, sometimes there's very unique and honestly weird kinds of trusts that get set up. But guys, for those of you who are thinking Medicaid out there and you're like, nope, we've got to hide our assets, please do not go trying to hide your assets. That is a surefire way to, I mean, at best, you end up getting disqualified from ever getting the benefits, right? I'm sorry, kind of that's the middle, I guess. At worst is they accuse you of trying to commit federal fraud on federal benefit programs. Don't do that. That is a crime. So it's not a game of hide the ball. It's not a game of sell the house to the son for $1 or to the daughter for $1. That's not going to help you. We're just going to hurry up and transfer everything into the kids' names. That's not going to help you. Okay. That is going to be a recipe for you being penalized from getting these benefits. So just a big warning, don't go rush out and try to do that. What we want to make sure is that you know what the exempt categories are, and then what the what are the allowed ways to make transfers over to the exempt categories, okay? Because transferring anything is a easy way to get disqualified or penalized, but there are some ways that are allowable transfers. So you got to be looking for what are the allowable ways to make the transfers, okay? If you want help with this, give us a call, 480-750-7788. We've helped thousands of families learn about this and figure out, okay, you've got this specific mix, okay, you can do this. And a lot of times if you're in the middle of, placing mom or dad into a nursing home, or your husband or wife, or you yourself are going into some type of assisted living facility, and you're staring at thousands and thousands of dollars in cost. And specifically, these two programs we're talking about today are for those who are 65 or older. If that's you, give us a call. Let us see if there's anything we can do and help your family save 50, 60, 70% of your life savings from just being wiped out over the next couple of years. Because that's what we do. And we'll do that. We'll be happy to do that. I'd love to do that for you. So how do you make your money exempt? How do you go through this? Well, you need to know that the first thing in these programs there are 3 criteria. There's a sort of just an eligibility criteria. The first one is, that you're an Arizona resident or that you had the military service. And then there's a requirement on eligibility for your level of income and then your level of assets. Okay. And they'll count everything on that. The way you figure it out is you have to make a list of everything financial, everything insurance, everything somebody owes you money, even if it's a kid, your cars, your gold collection, your guns, everything, investments, stocks, IRAs, annuities, everything's got to be on there. Make a list of everything. And then you're going to categorize each one as either a countable or an exempt. Countable, exempt, countable, exempt. Okay. Some things are they already are exempt. One of them is your house gets thrown around as, they don't count your house against you. I want you to know they don't, not to get on the program. Okay. But then what they can do is they can put a lien on it, bam, and they can take all the equity. So be careful with the house. I think a better idea is to consider the house as countable and make sure you're protecting the equity as well. I mean, why not, right? So you figure out what things are exempt, what things are countable, and then you're really looking at the countable ones And you're going to say, all right, what do I need to do to move those over to my exempt side? I want to fill up my exempt bucket. And that's the big key. Some of the exempt items, okay, some of the exempt things that you can have that don't disqualify you from Medicaid or the VA improved pension are certain types of really weird annuities. Okay, it's not just, call up and get an annuity. It's not a regular annuity salesperson. This is a very weird kind of Medicaid qualified annuity. Okay, you've got to, but there's a specific annuity. I'm not a fan of annuities for everything. It's not the end all be all answer to everything, but it can fit sometimes for this purpose. So a Medicaid qualified annuity. There's also very specific types of Medicaid asset protection trusts. So Medicaid asset protection trust. And then there are income trusts, okay? You'll see sometimes those are called Miller trusts, and that's to help keep your income under the limit. And then a lot of times what we're looking at is there debt we can pay off? Because that's exempt, you're allowed to do that. Can we purchase a better vehicle? Because your first vehicle is exempt. And then can we stock up on any personal needs, right? I mean, not 10 years worth of toilet paper like people were hoarding through the pandemic, no, but just a reasonable supply of your personal needs, right? And so take care of those. Now, the strategies of moving from your accountable bucket to your exempt categories, there can be tax consequences on the transfers. You don't want to trigger a big tax bill. And if you do the transfer wrong, it can trigger a big penalty from the benefit you're trying to get. So if you want help with that, if you want help figuring out that so you don't waste tens and tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars with this, give us a call. Be happy to figure it out for you. 480-750-7788. And you'll meet with someone on my team who will help you through your first appointment, which is called a discovery hour. And it's a really low pressure, easy appointment, comfortable. You can do it right from home just to help you figure out what the issues are, help you teach us what your goals are with this. And so you can see, oh, here's the options, A, B, C. And a lot of times, if you're in the crisis mode, we can help families save about 50% of their nest egg. If you're way before the crisis mode, sometimes we can save 70, 80, 90%. And so I welcome you to give us a call for that. Come back after the break. We've got two really good questions that we're going to answer from the audience, and you better check them out. Welcome back to Rethink Your Legacy. I'm Francisco Servent, your attorney and problem solver at law. Happy to be here today. It is finally not 1,000 degrees outside. We're starting to build a pool, and we're starting this at the end of the summer. Come on. My kids have been bored out of their mind, and it has just taken longer than ever to get that thing started. But today we're talking about how even in the midst of uncertainty, all this pandemic stuff, we still have to make plans and move forward. We still have to make plans. Sorry. And last week I talked about how many vacation plans have failed for us this year. I don't want your family's financial plan to fail in the middle of a nursing home crisis. That's what we've been talking about, Medicaid and VA. And if you're just starting to listen right here, jump back to the beginning, find a recording. We've got it on Facebook, on YouTube, and I want you to be able to get the full, all the information that we talked about how to get qualified, how to not get penalized, who can qualify, all these things. So what we're going to talk about now is a couple tough questions from folks like you who are either trying to take care of a parent right now, or they themselves are thinking, you know what, I'm in my 70s, I'm in my 80s, and I'm still healthy, I'm still having fun, but I could see that this might be in the future sometime. And so if that's you, here's a couple questions that I think can help. Number one, isn't my house exempt from Medicaid, Arizona long-term care system, and the VA? Isn't the house exempt? They can't count it. That's a great question. It is. Well, I call it provisionally exempt or temporarily exempt. This thing is, your house is not permanently exempt. And this is a big, if you call the Altex office, so Altex is Medicaid here in Arizona. It's the specific little vertical piece, little sliver piece of program of Medicaid that we're talking about for nursing home benefits. If you call that office and say, hey, I'd like to apply for my mom or my dad, and they are not going to kick mom or dad off because of equity in their home. Now there's a cap. I think it's about $500-ish thousand, a little bit of change there. But they're not going to kick mom and dad off. But what they can't do is give you legal advice. And so something that is often not said is that, hey, if they get on Medicaid and they start receiving benefits for month after month after month after year, and it's average cost of $7,000 to $8,000 a month, so you're looking at $80,000 to $100,000 a year. They don't necessarily tell you all the time that they can put a lien against your house or mom and dad's house for the total cost of those benefits. And guess where the house goes when mom or dad dies? Yeah. Now there's ways around that, right? One of the ways around it is to look at your home equity as if it already was a countable asset. Remember we talked about countable is going to count against you and keep you disqualified. And there's exempt. There's the whole bucket of exempt. There's good ways to take your house and move it over to the exempt side. Now, it's different for everybody, because if you're in the crisis where it has to be done right now, or if you're way ahead of the crisis, there are some things you can do that have a 5-year waiting period. So that's just the reality is you got to figure out which way you are and then know what your options are. It is never a good idea to sell it to the kid for $1. Do not sell it to anybody for $1. Don't give it to the kid. Don't give it to the child for $1. It just, trust me, that will get you penalized. That will mess up your whole financial plan. If you want help figuring that out, give us a call, 480-750-7788. If you don't need help, you want to just read up on your own, get our checklist from this week, radio.keystonelawfirm.com, and we'll send it straight to you. It's just a quick one-pager with today's topic and bullet points, and you could take that, research it, and talk with your family about it. Our second question here is, if you're like an empty nester, you're in your 50s or 60s, and you have a parent who is currently, like, this is their life. You're either already trying to place them into a nursing home or assisted living, or that's coming to them in the future, or could, right? This is the question. Can I do this for my parents, or do they have to do it themselves? And the answer here is it depends, right? This is the worst lawyer answer, but it's the most common lawyer answer. It depends. So here's the couple talking points you need to know. If your parents are still have full capacity, mental capacity, they're still with it. They're not like sick and unconscious, right? If they are able to communicate what they want, and they're communicating rationally, and they have mental capacity, then they are going to have to be involved. Absolutely. Period. Black and white. Yes, they have to be involved. Do they have to be involved? Do they have to do all the work? No. They can designate you to do a lot of the heavy lifting. Sorry, if you're the one who's going to volunteer, yeah, they're probably going to designate you to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So that's if they have mental capacity, they have all their mental faculties, then they have to be involved, but they can designate you to help. If they don't have all their mental faculties, they have dementia and it's declined, they have Alzheimer's, they have a brain injury, they had a stroke, something that means they cannot make rational decisions and do the financial business that just is their day-to-day life, then you can only do it for them in very limited circumstances. And you have to have a power of attorney that has some very specific legalese in there about doing this kind of benefit government benefit planning, if you have that and you have the power of attorney and it names you and it was signed correctly and all these great, it's very, very critical that that was done correctly, then yes, you can do it for them. You can usually do it completely for them, all on your own without their help. Okay. But again, that power of attorney, it's a unique type of power of attorney. Not all power of attorneys have it. The more and more and more that I look at for families, I see most of them don't have that language. So you just need to either look at it and find that thing in there that says you can do all of these things for Medicaid benefits, for VA benefits. You can make transfers, you can set up trusts, you can buy annuities, it's a whole giant list of legalese. So if you have that, then yes, you can do it. If you just I don't know, you just want to throw your hands up and you want help with this, that's what we do. We've helped hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of families figure this stuff out. Give us a call. The first step is a discovery hour. You can schedule that by calling 480-750-7788 or on our website, radio.keystonelawfirm.com, and get your discovery hour scheduled. Now, in either of those scenarios, right, if it's you taking care of a family member and they are not available to help, then only you need to come. But you may want to bring siblings. You may want to bring whoever else is going to have questions. If your mom or dad is available and can participate by phone or video, you want them to be involved. They're going to have questions. They're going to have concerns. They're going to be like, what the hell are you doing with my money? They want to know, and they have a right to know. And so bring them along, get them part of the discovery hour. That's where you can find out in just a really no pressure, easy, comfortable appointment, what your options are, what it would look like, how much money potentially you could save. A lot of times it's 50% of the total nest egg can be protected. Sometimes it's even higher than that, 70, 80, 90%. We had one that we did last year, literally 100% we were able to protect from these nursing home expenses. So give us a call and see if that's right for you. Also, you can get our checklist from this week at radio.keystonelawfirm.com. Download that and use it as a talking point for you and your family. Thanks for joining. It really is my pleasure to share this information. Come back and listen to us next week. We've got some great topics coming up, guys.